I have a story that you might even want to cut it out, but it's super super creepy. It's super creepy, but it's not ghosts. I think it was a night terror, right?
Oh,
Or not a night terror, sleep paralysis. Have you guys had that before? Sleep paralysis?
Once, I think.
Once,
It's
yeah.
horrible.
I've had it twice. One was super peaceful. I literally like I woke up, but I couldn't move my body. But there was just sun coming in my room, and I was just frozen in bed, just like staring at my wall, as if I was just getting up, but I had no control over my body. But I was breathing normally. It's super weird. It's like you just can't move. Like you're just like frozen. It's very strange. And to get out of it, you kind of like wiggle your toes, and then it kind of wakes up your body.
Yeah.
I sound like a crazy person.
No, that's a
but
real
clearly there's a name for it, so it's not.
Yeah, right. So I had a really horrible experience with that as well. It might have been because I was going through a phase with I was really into like extraterrestrials at the time, and so I'd be watching all these shows and these documentaries and stuff, and I was in bed and I woke up in the middle of the night and I couldn't move. And it was the same thing, but the room was pitch black. And I just saw like the moonlight coming in my window. And then that light coming in my window, as I'm sitting there frozen, I can't move. I'm just looking around. That light gets brighter and brighter and brighter until the whole room is like just a pitch white. I can't see anything. The light collapses. And then right pressed up against the side of my bed is this like humanoid male figure just like right up against my side, just standing there. And I can't make him out. He's just like a black figure. And now I sound really crazy. But and so he and I'm still frozen. I can't move. He lifts his arm out over my body. And then I feel like there's no other way to describe it other than like an energy just leaving my body, starting from my feet and kind of coming up my body. And
that's a Dementor.
Yeah. Right? And I got the Harry Potter glasses too.
That's what that is.
Yeah, and so he's holding his hand over. I feel this like leaving my body and it's coming up closer towards my neck. It gets to my shoulders. And then all of a sudden the light pours back in my room, gets really bright. It's white again. And then it collapses. He's gone and I can move again. And it was so trippy, dude. I don't know if I got abducted or what happened, but I write it off to sleep paralysis. It's the creepiest story.
How long ago?
This was years ago. I was like in high school. This would have been like 10 years ago.
Dang.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Isn't that wild?
If people make it to this point in the podcast, you're going to see them on Twitter. They're going to write to you, and they're going to be like, I've had this happen to me, or that happened to me.
Yes.
Like, bring them on.
Yeah.
So I have also recently gotten into a little bit of a alien type documentary situation, and that energy thing really hits.
Yeah.
That's what they say about
weird.
Aliens.
Like,
is it's an energy feel, or that's how they communicate with you. They just like send the energy in your brain.
It was trippy. The only thing I can relate it to in real life was when I was put out in an IV. And it kind of felt like that. Where like, I don't know why I had the IV done to have surgery done on my hand. And I remember it felt like the IV was like coming through my body from my feet up towards my neck. And then you just wake up in another room and it's a different day and you're like, what's happening? But it kind of felt like that a little bit.
By accessing this podcast, you acknowledge that the Penny Lane podcast makes no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional or financial advice. Unless specifically stated otherwise, the Penny Lane podcast does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast, and information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement. The third-party materials or content of any third-party site referenced in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions, standards, or policies of the Penny Lane podcast. The Penny Lane podcast assumes no responsibility or liability for the accuracy or completeness of the content contained in third-party materials or on third-party sites referenced in this podcast, or the compliance with applicable laws of such materials and/or links referenced herein.